My name is Arthur Gorbenko. I run my own marketing company. So we have primarily two customer types. So we primarily help customers in the like home improvement or construction industry, mostly remodeling companies, general contractors, flooring, just tradesmen in particular. These are we pretty much we started off doing specifically in construction, but we noticed that we should be able to specialize in this industry better, and that helps us with pretty much standing out from other competitors. And so that's our niche. Right now, we primarily help with from like pretty much A to Z with marketing. So we go from, building your own brand. If you need to do a rebrand, we help you with that. So we do like logos, brand messaging, everything that a brand needs to do. We usually at the very end do a brand identity that is usually about 35 page, which has like everything from the idea of who you are to the actual application. So we give you mock-ups for what do you call business cards, footers, email signatures, even vehicle wraps, depending on what you need. So we start with there, then we go into the website designing. So we usually do a website completely on us. We utilize Webflow. That's one of the most like recent developing software that we use. And then we then do a monthly retainer for SEO. We could grow the revenues pretty much. That's generally speaking what we do.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into it kind of a little bit more to you as a business owner then. How would you, and it's kind of subjective, but how would you define success?
Success, I would say you are growing naturally with a solid team and that you can rely on and trust and providing a product that is in need. So I think that would be a successful company or just success in general. So nothing that is a like everything that I said is more of like a need base because right now with the economy that we are in, it's like everything is trying to get cut whenever we have like recession warnings.
Hmm.
So it's
So,
supposed to be recession proof, a success plan.
okay. And so so you said in the beginning a little bit like constant growth. And is that constant growth like of like just hitting goals, like quarterly goals, yearly goals, or is this for you personally? Is this for your company as a whole? Like how does that look like?
Yeah, so right now we don't have at the moment revenue goals. That's just something that I do for myself personally because we do have client under management goals. So we have those numbers on a quarterly basis. And then we have like a roadmap for how many clients are we able to take on every single month. So those are our goals in general. And it does correspond with everything else. Meaning like if you do have, let's just say as recently right now, I have been able to get booked up till March for my business and for my like new clients. And this allows me to create a roadmap to even add more people to my team. So it's based on demand, of course, and whatever what you can sign.
So as demand grows, kind of you're slowly starting to scale up and plan
Yep,
for that. Gotcha.
exactly.
Cool. Okay. So let's hop to the second one then. Where would you then find your motivation, like, or your inspiration? Where does that come from when it comes to running this whole operation of yours?
I would say generally speaking is like to summarize it is great feedback. So great feedback could be anything from like recently that experienced is the people that I hire, they support families, they enjoy working here. And whenever I receive that feedback, we're like, hey, my contractors, my employees, all of them are very thankful to work here or for me. That's great. That gives you more inspiration to like do better for your team. Same thing applies for, my clients. So I have quite a bit of them that just, tell me like, hey, you know, just because of you, I am able to feed my family this month. Before that, I had no plan. It was going to be businesses closing down. So hearing those success stories does help me, like, be motivated to offer more of my services, uh, which is pretty much just like organizing this whole roadmap that I give. So that's just generally speaking, kind of on a daily, that is what I would consider more motivation. It's just that feedback that you receive.
I like that because then it's like a constant loop of affirmation. And it's like for
Hmm.
you, it's like, great, we did a good job as a team. And that's something that's also motivating me to keep going. And then also for your team as well, like that could be
Yeah.
like definitely a value. What about like, I'm just gonna dig deeper just a little bit. What about when you were first starting out this whole endeavor? How would
Hmm.
you, where did the inspiration come then when you were um starting out with this whole marketing idea?
So yeah, I would say like before this marketing, uh, I would say maybe it was a career path, but generally speaking, before that, I used to work at a kind of like a bank that doesn't really grow. It was like a very ancient type model. Like it's publicly traded bank, which is great, but you can see the progress is not really there. And especially since we're in a place where there's like a lot of startups. So I was doing a lot of research in regarding my position. So I knew right away that my position was going to be like, and this is in 2019. So that was before like this AI boost, but I already knew that my position would be getting replaced soon. So I've
Mhm.
decided to pivot and do something that I have control over. And I think that marketing was one of those things that I know I could scale and be good at.
Love it. You kind of hit on my third question too. So it was like kind of like how did your idea move from something that was just an idea to actually succeeding? Could you emphasize there a little bit more, or do you think that sums it up?
Well, like from idea to success,
Yeah,
was that the
yeah,
question?
yeah.
Yeah, so like a lot of trial and error. Like I am self-taught in this, I'm like in this uh, position that I am in. I am right now, it's a side conversation, but I am right now getting more leadership training, marketing training to grow this to the next, I would say, more professional foundation level of the company. But before that, it was more, there was a need, and I was saying yes to every single marketing project that I was doing. So I had a budget and I was willing to learn. So there was just a lot of desire to learn this space so that I could make it my own.
Gotcha. And when you were starting out, how did you make decisions to bring on more people? How'd you build your team?
So yeah, that's a good question. So when I was starting out, I would say I had one major client that was pretty much funding all of my business growth. That client had a lot of projects, and as I was doing mostly all of the marketing, wanted to do even more. And so as I was experimenting on where I should be hiring, I was able to contract out independent contractors in places like Philippines, places where there is not much risk with hiring because it's more affordable, but you do get the chance to working with people. So there's a lot of drawbacks with hiring international, a lot of patience that you will need and training to like manage the communication, but it was based on demand and be able to say those yes to those projects. Like let's just say if we were to do one website per month, I would be working full time just for that one website. But at the same time, we were supposed to be spending on Google Ads, Facebook ads, creating the creatives, running campaigns, all of that. So I had to hire a web developer to help me out with that. And then slowly, as I grew my capacity, I was able to get, usually my standard is to learn at least 30% of that like specific role and then hire so that I know what I'm hiring for. I have the metrics to hire for, and I can train to that point, and that person should take it from there.
Interesting. I'm sure communication was a big thing, like first trying out to the overseas operation and everything.
Yes.
So with that then, was there, you kind of mentioned already there was some lessons along the way of, or it was like a learning curve, more to say, but what would you have done maybe differently? Maybe you would have like why decide to go out to the Philippines instead of hiring someone local, maybe like a friend or a buddy that could have helped you out in this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually did. So,
Hmm.
before like working, well, I first worked with the contractors in Philippines. Um, there were challenges. One of the challenges is understanding the culture, understanding like expectations from their side of who should be their manager, who should be their, leader in the company. So that was something that was a learning curve. What I would have done differently there is instead of hiring someone, I would say on the lower scale, because at that time I didn't have the budget, I would have hired someone on the upper side of things because when you hire someone at a lower rate, you do get lower rate type of quality. So that could be either people that are just starting out in that profession, and you would have to do maybe not just like, let's just say I'm hiring a web developer. Now I have to spend another 50% of my time to training that person. So that is just something that I did not anticipate was just the amount of time I had to spend training. So I had to provide a lot of resources. I had to buy a lot of courses for training for these for the my team. So that was just something that was going to be needed. But you said that like trying out someone locally. Yes, I had a partner, and there was two additional people with that partnership. It was a side company that we were doing the same exact thing, but locally here. So I wanted to separate those ventures. The only problem is that that was also a few of the people that I was working with. They weren't super talented. They didn't come from a professional background, so they didn't have the habits of delivering on time the work that is needed.
So almost like you instead of instead of full on like dedicating your time and resources to them, it was kind of more of the I need to find like the right culture fit for like the stage that I'm at right now, right? Like
Hmm.
developing them was maybe not something at the, like that you could have planned for at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So with all of that, you've kind of provided you've provided your goals, trials and error. That was good. Um, and then saying yes early on to opportunities. I liked that. With all of that from early on to what you're doing now, what do you think with the experience that you have so far that what makes you like a good business owner? What should one have like what's one characteristic or quality that one should have to become like a good business owner?
I would say the biggest thing is understanding understanding your industry and being able to sell would be your number one quality, so that you can then recruit people. So that's just number one thing that is going to be required. There are ways to do this even quicker than what I did. I did play it more safer. So I didn't oversell projects and then hired people. I had a slow growth mentality where, I would get projects and then I would hire the right person if I need to. So it just made it a lot safer. And that was, during some of these like lower parts of economy where like there was talks in recession, people cut their budgets and so forth. So the ultimately thing is that quality does like if you do quality work, you will be, noticed. It might take a year, might take two, but quality will be noticed. And then you don't have to sell your service or your previous work will sell itself. So,
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I kind of like the slow approach and you build that reputation and the quality kind of comes with it. And then eventually like you don't really have to sell as much later on probably. Um,
mhm.
okay. Um, so then what role did education have in your success? Was there any mentors along the way? Was there how did
Mhm.
you really understand and like develop yourself in the industry that you're in?
Yeah, I would say like overall, I probably had. over maybe $20,000 worth of courses of like individual like courses that were training specifically for web design, branding, SEO, a lot of paid courses that had to be done because that was where you can get the full steps and actual templates on what needs to be done, and then also communities that came with it. The main the main part about this market, so I am in digital marketing, and that at that time, digital marketing was still relatively new, where there was no official school for digital marketers. So they
Mm,
were teaching marketing, but they would still teach marketing where it's, you build out flyers or you make a billboard or you do newspapers or TV
mm,
ads. Those were the only like real application of the marketing world in like universities. So it didn't really help because of this major transition that happened during this time. So we're still like in the later parts of this transition, but most marketing companies now, most of their budgets are now being spent on, YouTube ads, social media, Google. That is, something that cannot be taught in a university. So the opportunity was there, and yeah, it was mostly self-taught with a lot of educators.
specific courses. Like, so you had a lot of skills that you basically picked up like along the way you're starting out your journey and you're like, okay, I need to learn how to develop or web design, right? I'm gonna go and find
Mhm,
something online to someone else who can teach me that skill set. And then I'll
mhm.
like be able to then transfer it to my team, like that kind of concept, right?
Yeah, there's popular people that have, they have a good combination of these teachers and these academies, where the teachers did come from like bachelor's, master's programs, but what they were teaching was the new application, and so you would get in a way best of both,
Hmm,
which is, part of UX design, UI, user interface, and user experience. You had to learn both, and that's just in the part of web design. So there's pretty much I had to find courses, and all of these courses were something that of an aid for all of my team. This was not just for myself. This was mostly for me to understand, so I can grade the work, but the actual application was for my team.
I
So
see.
this was an asset for the company, and that's why I was willing to pay. Like recently, I am planning to go into this program. It's called Star Coaching, I think. It's a program in the UK where they will have pretty much like a curriculum for managers and team leaders, which is something that I'll be taking with my team manager or team manager.
I like that. I like how you're still going. Like it's like a never-ending process that you're still looking and going and trying to find the next thing to learn in your niche. That's cool.
Yeah, pretty much every time you grow, your goal is to categorize all the positions that are required to operate your company. And then if someone else is not taking it, you have to take it. And then slowly, based on demand, you fire yourself by hiring someone else to do that work. But it has to be very detailed,
I
like a
see.
description. We like to use this model. It's called responsibility, authority, and accountability. So for every position, there should be a like pretty much a list for what does this position like role is with regards to responsibility. For like web design, their goal is to maintain and create websites. There's a huge list. Accountability is something that responsibility can be shared, but accountability cannot. So this is within that role. These are things that they are accountable for. So they are accountable for an amazing website design experience, generally speaking. That's not something that I am responsible for. They are responsible for completing it on time. So, and then they obviously have the authority to make decisions themselves. You create those for each organization, for each team, and yeah, you'll be able to hire quicker.
So you have specific processes for certain positions, and the RAs are there to hold the team a little bit accountable and what their roles are, but then also give you a roadmap of like, hey, I know who's responsible for what. There's no confusion and no
Hmm.
miscommunication, kind of like you mentioned in the beginning. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Love it. So then we're at our last question. And this question was kind of more for you to ask the right question that we may have not asked. So the question is, what's the most important question that we did not ask? And then what's your answer to it? How would you answer that?
How does AI impact your business? That's
Ooh,
another
that
one.
is a
So
great one.
yeah, and we have been using AI since 2019, since the beginning. So we
Before even it
use
was popular.
yeah, or we used like early versions of ChatGPT before it became known as ChatGPT. Before like OpenAI, which is the company that made ChatGPT, before
Hmm.
they made their own product, which was ChatGPT, they gave like to their machines to other companies. One of them was it's called it's not OpenAI, Copy.ai. So that was one of the original companies that we started using for similar work as ChatGPT. So,
That,
yeah,
that's interesting. So instead of like it taking your role, you incorporate it in your day to day.
correct. One person with AI now can do almost four people's work.
Did you have to reduce staff at all or work
No,
reduction?
I increased my work production. So
Nice.
you have my goal right now is to with my team size is to have two people per role for my specialty because that second person, one person is going to be the lead who's responsible for growth. Second person is going to be like the standard person. There's obviously going to be equal, different pay and different responsibility since I already shared with you like RAA, right? Responsibility, accountability, authority. So they will have different pay, different responsibilities, and that person is also a contingent because we've had moments where like one person had to go and I had to hire someone urgently and like communicate with clients that for a month we're not going to be able to finish your work. And that's really
Hmm.
bad news. So really important to have a contingent person for each role.
So with that, then I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for going a little bit more into depth of what you're doing. Um, do you want to maybe shout out like where people can find you? What's your um, company name and social
Uh,
media stuff, or do you have any of that? No.
no, right now we're not like we're in the process of a rebrand. So our new brand is called Genesis SEO. So that's going to be like pretty much the beginning of growth for most of these companies that I work with. So
Hmm?
yeah, so it's going to be a nice rebrand hopefully by this end of the year. But yeah, no shout out really needed. I've stopped accepting new clients, so waiting for everything to settle down.
Awesome.